Hello, everyone. Welcome back to English in Moments. I'm Elena, your host for today's lesson. If you're new here, we upload daily English lessons to help you improve faster and speak with genuine confidence. In today's episode, we go beyond listening. We'll expand your vocabulary and train your brain to think in advanced, fluent English. Today, we cover a powerful topic: over 150 English phrases for daily life. These are expressions native speakers utilize daily to sound natural and expressive. Throughout this lesson, we explore real-life scenarios to show exactly how these phrases function. You'll hear natural flow, learn responses, and acquire advanced terminology to sound fluent. Importantly, we practice together, ensuring you start using these phrases in your own speech. Whether talking to friends or colleagues, these expressions will help you articulate thoughts clearly and communicate with ease. By the end of this video, you'll have a richer vocabulary bank and feel confident joining conversations. Before we begin, please subscribe to English in Moments and press the bell icon. Never miss our daily lessons designed to build your fluency step by step. So, take a deep breath, relax, and let's start this journey toward more fluent English together. When we talk about fluency, many learners imagine big words, complicated grammar, or academic sentences. But in real life, fluency is built from something much more practical, much more human, and much more conversational. It's built from phrases, daily life phrases that people use again and again in natural situations. Phrases that help you react quickly, express emotions clearly, and keep conversations flowing without awkward pauses. Think about your own daily routine for a moment. From the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, you move through dozens of small conversations. You greet people, you respond to questions, you make plans, you apologize, you agree, you disagree, you explain, you request, and sometimes you simply react with emotion. Now, imagine if every one of those moments felt easy in English. Imagine if phrases came to your mind automatically, without translation, without hesitation. That's exactly what we're building together in this lesson. Let's begin with a very natural conversational situation, meeting someone you know, or even someone you see regularly. Instead of always saying a basic, "How are you?" native speakers often use more expressive phrases like, "How are things coming along?" "How have you been?" or "What's been keeping you busy lately?" These phrases feel warmer, more engaging, and they invite longer responses, which keeps conversations alive. Now let's practice this together in a natural speaking rhythm. Imagine you meet a colleague in the morning. You smile and say, "Hey, how are things coming along?" They reply, "Pretty good, just been occupied with work." You continue, "I can certainly relate. It's been quite frantic for me too." Notice how the phrase, "I can certainly relate," shows empathy, connection, and conversational maturity. It sounds far more fluent than simply saying, "Okay," or "yes." Another powerful daily phrase is, "I've been meaning to tell you." This phrase is extremely useful when you want to share something you forgot earlier. For example, "I've been meaning to tell you, your presentation yesterday was really impressive." Or, "I've been meaning to ask you, where did you acquire that book?" Using this phrase instantly makes your English sound thoughtful and socially natural. Now, repeat this with me mentally. "I've been meaning to tell you." "I've been meaning to ask you." Try inserting your own ending, maybe about a friend, a plan, or a question. This kind of repetition trains your brain to store the phrase as a ready-to-use conversational tool. As conversations continue, we often need transition phrases, small bridges that connect thoughts smoothly. One of the most useful is, by the way. Native speakers use it constantly to introduce a new topic without sounding abrupt. For example, by the way, are you attending the meeting later? Or, by the way, I watched that film you recommended. It feels natural, casual, and conversationally fluent. Let's expand this into a mini dialogue practice. Imagine you're talking to a friend about work. Then you shift topics. You say, by the way, have you finished the project report? They reply, not yet. I'm still working on it. You respond, no worries. Take your time. Notice how 3 simple phrases create a complete, natural, flowing exchange. Now, let's move into emotional reaction phrases. Because fluency isn't just about information, it's about feelings. When someone shares good news, instead of only saying, that's good, you can say, that's wonderful to hear, or I'm really happy for you, or even, that made my day. These phrases add warmth, personality, and authenticity to your English. Practice this scenario. A friend tells you they got a new job. You respond, that's wonderful to hear. You totally deserve it. Or, I'm really happy for you. You worked so hard. Feel how these phrases carry emotional weight. This is the difference between basic English and advanced conversational fluency. On the other hand, when reacting to surprising news, you might use phrases like, no way, you're joking, or I didn't see that coming. These are highly natural spoken reactions used constantly in informal conversations. For example, you're joking, you met her in person? Or, no way, that's unbelievable. Let's practice layered responses. Imagine someone says, I finished the entire project in one night. You react, no way, that must have taken forever. Here, the second phrase extends the conversation instead of ending it. This is a key fluency skill, always adding conversational fuel. Daily conversations also involve small problems and complaints. And here, certain phrases become extremely valuable. For example, it's been one of those days. This phrase communicates stress without needing long explanations. You might say, I spilled coffee, missed the bus. It's been one of those days. Instantly relatable, instantly fluent. Another useful phrase is, I'm a bit tied up right now. This politely communicates that you're busy. For example, can we talk later? I'm a bit tied up right now. Notice how this sounds softer and more professional than simply saying, I'm busy. Let's build a short conversational exercise. Someone calls you while you're working. You answer, hey, I'm a bit tied up right now. Can I call you back in an hour? This response is polite, clear, and socially fluent. Exactly the kind of phrasing advanced speakers rely on. As we continue building your phrase bank, you'll notice something important. Fluency isn't about memorizing random vocabulary. It's about storing ready-made conversational units, phrases that come out naturally under pressure. That's why we're practicing them in context, in emotion, and in realistic dialogue flow. Now, let's explore agreement phrases, because conversations often require us to align with others. Instead of always saying, I agree, you can say, you've got a point, or I couldn't agree more, or That makes perfect sense. Each carries slightly different emotional intensity. Imagine a discussion about working from home. Your friend says, "It saves so much commuting time." You reply, "You've got a point. It really improves work-life balance." See how the phrase acknowledges their idea while adding your own? That's conversational layering, a mark of advanced fluency. We also need soft disagreement phrases because fluent speakers disagree politely. Instead of saying, "You're wrong," you might say, "I see what you mean, but I look at it differently." Or, "That's one way to see it, however." These soften conversations and maintain social harmony. Practice this contrast. Someone says, "Online learning is better than classroom learning." You respond, "I see what you mean, but I feel classroom interaction is still important." Notice the balance: respectful, fluent, socially intelligent. As your phrase inventory grows, your conversational confidence grows with it. Because now you aren't constructing sentences from zero. You're selecting ready conversational tools. This reduces hesitation, increases speed, and builds natural rhythm in speech. Take a moment now, mentally review a few phrases we've practiced. How are things coming along? I've been meaning to tell you, by the way. That's wonderful to hear. No way! It's been one of those days. I'm a bit tied up right now. You've got a point. Let them echo in your mind. Repetition builds retention. Retention builds fluency. And as we continue, we'll keep expanding this living library of daily English phrases, embedding them into situations you recognize, conversations you've had, and interactions you'll have again tomorrow. Because the goal isn't just to learn phrases, but to live them, speak them, and own them in real communication. As conversations deepen, we often move beyond greetings and reactions into sharing experiences, telling small stories, or describing situations from our day. And this is where many learners begin to feel stuck because they know vocabulary, but they don't know how to naturally frame their experiences. This is why certain storytelling phrases become incredibly powerful in daily life English, because they give structure to your speech and confidence to your delivery. One very common phrase native speakers use when beginning a story is, "You won't believe what happened." This phrase immediately captures attention and signals that something interesting is coming. For example, "You won't believe what happened this morning. I locked my keys inside the car." Notice how the phrase creates curiosity. It gently pulls the listener into your story. Let's practice expanding this idea. Imagine you're talking to a friend after work. You say, "You won't believe what happened today. My manager called me into the office and I thought I was in trouble, but he actually promoted me." Now your listener is emotionally engaged because your phrasing built suspense. This is conversational storytelling fluency. Another natural opener is, "Guess what?" This is shorter, more casual, and used frequently in friendly conversations. For example, "Guess what? I finally finished the course I was taking." Or, "Guess what? I ran into our old teacher yesterday." The phrase is simple, but socially powerful. Now, repeat it mentally. "Guess what? Guess what happened?" Feel how it prepares the listener for news, whether good, surprising, or unexpected. This preparation is part of natural spoken rhythm. As we continue, let's look at reflective phrases, expressions you use when thinking about past experiences. One of the most useful is looking back. For example, looking back, I realize I was too nervous during the interview. Or, looking back, moving to this city was the best decision I made. This phrase allows you to sound thoughtful, mature, and introspective in English, which elevates your conversational depth. Let's expand a practice response. Looking back, I think I worried too much about things that didn't matter. Notice how natural, calm, and fluent this sounds. Another powerful daily phrase is to be honest. This signals sincerity, openness, and emotional transparency. For example, to be honest, I didn't enjoy the movie as much as I expected. Or, to be honest, I was really nervous before the presentation. Let's practice emotional layering. Someone asks, "Did you like the event?" You respond, "To be honest, I felt a bit out of place, but it was still a good experience." This kind of phrasing communicates nuance, not just yes or no. Daily life also involves expressing uncertainty. And here, softening phrases are essential. One very common phrase is, "I'm not entirely sure." For example, "I'm not entirely sure, but I think the meeting is at 3 p.m." This sounds far more natural and more polite than simply saying, "I don't know." You can also use, "If I'm not mistaken." For instance, "If I'm not mistaken, this road leads to the station." These phrases create polite, intelligent uncertainty and keep conversations smooth. Now, let's move into planning conversations, because much of daily English revolves around making arrangements, scheduling, and coordinating time. One extremely useful phrase is, "What works best for you?" For example, "We should meet sometime. What works best for you?" This sounds collaborative, considerate, and socially aware. Practice a short exchange. "Are you free this weekend?" "I might be. What works best for you?" "Saturday afternoon would be great." This is natural scheduling English, simple yet socially fluent. Another key phrase is, "Let me check my schedule." This buys you time and makes you sound organized. For example, "Let me check my schedule. I'll get back to you." Notice the professionalism embedded in this phrase. Let's expand it conversationally. "Can you join the meeting tomorrow?" "Let me check my schedule. I think I should be available." These micro phrases create conversational smoothness and confidence. Now, let's explore polite request phrases. Because daily interactions constantly require asking for help, instead of direct commands, fluent speakers soften requests using phrases like, "Would you mind?" For example, "Would you mind sending me the file?" Or, "Would you mind helping me with this?" Feel the difference between "send me the file" and "would you mind sending me the file?" The second feels socially polished, respectful, and far more natural in professional or polite settings. Practice mentally. "Would you mind repeating that?" "Would you mind waiting a moment?" Each repetition strengthens your conversational reflexes and builds automatic fluency. We also frequently use gratitude phrases in daily life. Not just "thank you," but extended appreciation. For example, I really appreciate it. That means a lot to me. Or, I can't thank you enough. Imagine someone helps you prepare for an interview. You say, I really appreciate it. Your advice made a huge difference. Notice how appreciation plus explanation deepens emotional connection. Now, let's explore apology phrases, another core part of fluent social communication. Instead of just sorry, native speakers often say, I didn't mean to, or that's my fault, or I sincerely apologize. For example, I didn't mean to interrupt you, or that delay was my fault. I should have informed you earlier. These phrases communicate accountability, maturity, and fluency. Let's practice situational fluency. Imagine arriving late. You say, I sincerely apologize for being late. Traffic was heavier than expected. Notice how the explanation gently softens the apology and maintains professionalism. As conversations progress, we also express preferences, opinions, and personal inclinations. One natural phrase is, I'm more of a, for example, I'm more of a coffee person, or I'm more of an indoor person. This phrase helps define personality in casual conversation. Let's expand it. I'm more of a morning person. I feel productive early in the day. This layering builds conversational richness and clarity. Another opinion phrase is, from my perspective. For example, from my perspective, communication is the key to teamwork. This sounds thoughtful, balanced, and articulate. Now, let's step into everyday problem-solving conversations because life constantly presents small challenges, and how you phrase them matters. One useful expression is, I'll figure something out. This communicates resilience, calmness, and emotional strength. Imagine missing transportation. You say, I missed the bus, but I'll figure something out. This shows composure and quiet confidence. Another phrase is, it slipped my mind, a very natural way to admit forgetting something. For example, I'm sorry, it slipped my mind. Softer and more conversational than saying, I forgot. Practice conversational repair. Did you send the email? Oh no, it slipped my mind. I'll do it right away. This keeps conversations smooth, not tense. We also frequently reassure others in daily speech using phrases like, don't worry about it, it's not a big deal, or it happens. These build emotional comfort and warmth in dialogue. Imagine a friend apologizing for being late. You respond, don't worry about it, it happens. Instantly supportive, calm, and socially fluent. As your conversational toolkit expands, notice how each phrase serves a social function: greeting, reacting, planning, apologizing, appreciating, storytelling, reassuring. This functional awareness helps you deploy phrases naturally instead of mechanically. Take a moment now and mentally rehearse a few we've explored in this practice session. You won't believe what happened. Guess what? Looking back, to be honest, I'm not entirely sure. What works best for you? Would you mind? I really appreciate it. It slipped my mind. Let them settle slowly into your conversational memory. And remember, fluency grows not from speed, but from familiarity. The more often you hear, repeat, and imagine using these phrases, the more automatically they'll appear in your real-life conversations. As our conversations continue to evolve in daily life, we begin to notice that fluency isn't only about what we say, but how smoothly we move between thoughts, how naturally we respond, and how comfortably we keep dialogue alive without long pauses. This is where conversational connector phrases become essential because they allow you to hold the floor while thinking, while transitioning, or while gently guiding the direction of discussion. One very natural phrase native speakers use constantly is, "You know what I mean?" This phrase checks listener understanding while maintaining conversational flow. For example, it was one of those situations where nothing went as planned. You know what I mean? It invites empathy and keeps engagement alive. Let's expand this into a speaking rhythm. I tried to stay calm, but everything kept going wrong. You know what I mean? Notice how the phrase softens the emotional expression, making it relatable rather than dramatic. Another connector phrase is, "at the end of the day." This expression is used to summarize a thought or highlight what truly matters. For example, "at the end of the day, what matters most is that we tried our best." Or, "at the end of the day, health is more important than money." Practice building a reflective response. "I was stressed about the results, but at the end of the day, I learned a lot from the experience." This phrasing sounds calm, mature, and philosophically fluent. Now, let's explore a very conversational filler phrase that helps you think while speaking. Let me put it this way. This phrase signals that you're about to explain something differently or more clearly. For example, let me put it this way. Learning English is like building a muscle. It grows with practice. Imagine explaining a work challenge. Let me put it this way. The workload doubled, but the deadline stayed the same. Notice how this phrase prepares the listener for clarification. We also often use contrast phrases to balance ideas. One powerful daily phrase is, "on the bright side." It introduces optimism after difficulty. For example, "I missed the flight, but on the bright side, I got a refund." Let's expand emotionally. "The project was exhausting, but on the bright side, I learned new skills." This demonstrates resilience and emotional fluency. Another common conversational contrast is, "that being said." This phrase allows you to acknowledge one idea while introducing another. For example, "the job is demanding. That being said, it's very rewarding." Practice a workplace dialogue mentally. "The hours are long. That being said, the experience is valuable." You can feel how the phrase balances perspective and creates thoughtful nuance. Daily life conversations also involve giving encouragement, and certain phrases make support sound sincere rather than generic. One of the most natural is, "you've got this." It communicates belief in someone's ability. For example, "your interview is tomorrow. Don't stress, you've got this." Short, powerful, emotionally uplifting. Another supportive phrase is, "I'm rooting for you." This expresses emotional investment. For instance, "I know you've worked hard. I'm rooting for you." Warm, reassuring, supportive. Let's build a supportive exchange. "I'm nervous about the presentation." "That's normal, but you've got this. I'm rooting for you." This kind of language strengthens interpersonal bonds and deepens connection. We also need phrases for offering help because social fluency includes generosity of support. A common one is, "let me know if you need anything." For example, "if the workload gets heavy, let me know if you need anything." It sounds open and considerate. Another is, "I'd be happy to help." Simple, warm, and cooperative. "If you're moving this weekend, I'd be happy to help." Friendly and sincere. Now, imagine a real-life practice scenario. A colleague looks overwhelmed. You say, "You seem swamped. I'd be happy to help if you need anything." This sounds empathetic and socially aware. As conversations shift, we often express hesitation, especially when making decisions. One natural phrase is, "I'm still on the fence." It means you haven't decided yet. For example, "I'm still on the fence about taking the job." Another is, "I need to think it over." For instance, "That's an interesting offer. I need to think it over." These phrases create thoughtful pauses rather than abrupt uncertainty. Let's practice. "Are you joining the trip?" "I'm still on the fence. I need to think it over." This sounds measured, calm, and reflective. Now, let's explore surprise and disbelief phrases. Beyond the basics, one expressive phrase is, "I can't wrap my head around it," meaning something is hard to understand. For example, "I still can't wrap my head around how fast the year went." Another is, "It blows my mind." For instance, "It blows my mind how technology keeps evolving." These phrases add color, personality, and emotional depth to speech. We also frequently reassure ourselves or others using calming phrases. One common one is, "It'll all work out." This conveys hope and quiet confidence. For example, "You're worried now, but it'll all work out." Another is, "Take it one step at a time," often used to comfort someone facing a challenge. Don't overwhelm yourself. Take it one step at a time. Slow, steady, reassuring. Now, let's move into conversational reflection phrases, expressions used when evaluating life situations. One powerful phrase is, "It taught me a lot." For example, "That failure was hard, but it taught me a lot." Honest, reflective, mature. Another is, "I wouldn't change a thing," meaning despite difficulties, you value the experience. The journey was tough, but I wouldn't change a thing. Acceptance and growth. Practice storytelling reflection. Living abroad was challenging, but it taught me a lot, and I wouldn't change a thing. Notice the fluency layering, the emotional balance, the rhythm. Daily life also involves expressing mild complaints politely. One such phrase is, "I can't complain." Interestingly, it actually means things are okay. For example, "How is work?" "I can't complain. It's been steady." Another is, "Could be better," a softer way to express dissatisfaction. "How are you feeling?" "Could be better, but I'm managing." Balanced and honest. Let's practice tonal contrast. "How's your day going?" "I can't complain." "Could be better, but I'm staying positive." These microphrases create nuanced communication and emotional realism. As fluency develops, speakers also use time reference phrases to situate experiences. One is lately, for example. "Lately, I've been focusing on my health." It signals recent change. Another is these days. "These days, I prefer quiet weekends." These phrases signal current life trends and evolving priorities. Let's expand conversationally. "Lately, I've been trying to wake up earlier." "These days, I feel more productive." This layering adds rhythm, cohesion, and natural flow. Now, pause mentally and review the conversational tools you've gained in this practice session. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, let me put it this way. On the bright side, You've got this. I'm still on the fence. I can't wrap my head around it. It'll all work out. I can't complain. Lately. Each phrase serves a social function: emotional connection, reflection, encouragement, hesitation, or transition. And the more you hear them in context, the more naturally you'll deploy them in your own speech without memorization stress. Because fluency grows through exposure, repetition, emotional association, and consistent practice. As we continue strengthening your conversational fluency, it becomes important to focus on the kinds of phrases that help you navigate real-time social situations. Moments where you don't have time to think about grammar, where your response must come naturally, smoothly, and appropriately. These are the moments where prepared conversational phrases become your greatest asset, because they allow you to respond with confidence, even under pressure. Let's begin with a very practical social phrase, one that appears in countless daily interactions. That sounds like a plan. This phrase is commonly used when agreeing to an idea or arrangement, but it carries more enthusiasm than simply saying, okay. For example, let's meet at 6 and grab dinner. That sounds like a plan. Notice how it communicates willingness and positivity. Now, imagine extending the response. That sounds like a plan. I've been wanting to try that restaurant. This kind of extension keeps conversations flowing instead of ending them abruptly. Another natural phrase used when confirming understanding is "got it," or slightly more formal, "I got the idea." For example, "So you'll send the report first thing tomorrow." Got it. Short, clear, fluent. You can expand it conversationally. Got it. I'll make sure it's ready. This adds responsibility and engagement. Daily conversations also involve expressing relief, especially after stress or uncertainty. One very common phrase is, "That's a relief." For example, "The test results came back normal." That's a relief. Let's add emotional layering. That's a relief. I've been worried all week. This makes the response more human, more emotionally connected. Now, let's explore a phrase used when something happens unexpectedly but positively. That worked out well. For example, "I thought I'd miss the train, but I caught it just in time." That worked out well. Practice situational fluency. "I didn't study much, but the exam was easy." That worked out well. This phrase reflects outcome evaluation, a key storytelling element. Another extremely useful conversational tool is "fair enough." This phrase shows acceptance of someone else's opinion, even if you don't fully agree. For example, "I prefer working late at night." Fair enough. Everyone has their own rhythm. Notice how this phrase prevents conflict while maintaining conversational respect. We also frequently need phrases for delaying decisions or responses. One of the most natural is, "Let me get back to you." For example, "Can you confirm your availability?" "Let me get back to you." This phrase is professional, polite, and widely used in both casual and formal communication. Let's expand it. "Let me get back to you. I just need to double-check my calendar." Adding explanation increases clarity and fluency. Now, let's move into conversational clarification phrases, because misunderstandings are normal, and fluent speakers know how to handle them gracefully. One very useful phrase is, just to clarify. For example, just to clarify, you want the report by Friday. Another is, if I understood correctly. If I understood correctly, the meeting is postponed. These phrases prevent confusion while sounding thoughtful and precise. Let's practice a repair dialogue. We're meeting at the main office. Just to clarify, the downtown branch? This ensures mutual understanding. Daily life also involves expressing mild frustration, and here, tone-sensitive phrases matter. One natural expression is, that's frustrating. For example, I spent hours fixing it, and it broke again. That's frustrating. You can soften it further. It's a bit frustrating, but I'll manage. This balances honesty with emotional control. Another phrase used when things go wrong is, what a mess. For example, the files got deleted. What a mess. It communicates reaction without aggression. Now, let's explore conversational patience phrases, expressions used when waiting or enduring inconvenience. One common one is, I guess it can't be helped. For example, the flight is delayed. I guess it can't be helped. This phrase signals acceptance, calmness, and maturity. Another patience phrase is, it is what it is, often used to accept reality. We did our best. It is what it is. Practice emotional acceptance. I wanted a different outcome, but it is what it is. Notice the emotional closure embedded in the phrase as we move forward. We also need phrases for showing interest in others' experiences because conversation is mutual, not one-sided. One natural phrase is, how did that go? For example, you had an interview yesterday. How did that go? Another is, what was that like? This invites storytelling. You traveled alone. What was that like? Let's expand and exchange. I presented in front of 200 people. Wow, what was that like? This phrase encourages deeper sharing. Now, let's explore conversational enthusiasm phrases used when reacting positively. One powerful expression is, that's awesome. Casual, warm, and energetic. You started your own business. That's awesome. Another is, I'm thrilled for you. Slightly more formal, but deeply supportive. You got accepted. I'm thrilled for you. Practice emotional reinforcement. You published your first article. That's awesome. I'm thrilled for you. Layered enthusiasm sounds highly fluent. Daily life also requires setting boundaries politely, and certain phrases help maintain respect while protecting your time or energy. One such phrase is, I'd rather not. For example, I'd rather not discuss that right now. Another is, I'm not comfortable with that. Calm, direct, and respectful. Practice boundary fluency. Can you work overtime tonight? I'd rather not. I already have commitments. This balances honesty and politeness. Now, let's step into reflective gratitude phrases deeper than simple thanks. One meaningful expression is, I'm grateful for that experience. For example, it was challenging, but I'm grateful for that experience. Another is, it meant more than you know. Used to express emotional impact. Your support meant more than you know. Let's build emotional fluency. You stood by me when things were tough. It meant more than you know. Notice the depth conveyed through phrasing. As your conversational range expands, you'll find yourself able to navigate agreement, disagreement, emotion, storytelling, boundaries, and support, all through ready conversational phrases. This is what transforms textbook English into living, breathing, daily English. Pause now and mentally echo some of the phrases from this practice session. That sounds like a plan. Got it. That's a relief. Fair enough. Let me get back to you. Just to clarify, it is what it is. How did that go? That's awesome. I'd rather not. Let repetition strengthen recall and recall strengthen fluency, because every phrase you internalize becomes a bridge between thought and speech, between silence and expression, and between hesitation and confident communication. As your fluency continues to expand, we now move into a layer of conversation that reflects deeper social intelligence, the kind of language people use not just to exchange information, but to manage relationships, express subtle emotions, and navigate complex interpersonal moments. Because real-life communication is rarely direct. It's often softened, implied, or emotionally balanced through carefully chosen phrases. Let's begin with a phrase that signals emotional understanding. I know how you feel. This expression communicates empathy, connection, and shared human experience. For example, you've been overwhelmed with work. I know how you feel. I went through the same last month. Notice how the phrase builds emotional alignment. You can deepen the empathy by extending it. I know how you feel. It can be really exhausting. This layering shows emotional fluency, not just linguistic fluency. Another powerful empathy phrase is, that must have been tough. For example, you handled the situation alone. That must have been tough. This validates the other person's experience, making conversations warmer and more human. Let's build a practice exchange. I had to relocate suddenly for work. That must have been tough. Adjusting to a new place isn't easy. Notice how the phrase invites further sharing. Daily conversations also include moments of encouragement after setbacks. And here, phrases like, don't be too hard on yourself, become very valuable. For example, you made a mistake, but don't be too hard on yourself. It happens. Another supportive phrase is, you did your best, often used to comfort someone after effort. You didn't win, but you did your best. Now imagine a real emotional scenario. I didn't pass the exam. I'm sorry to hear that, but don't be too hard on yourself. You did your best. This sounds compassionate, supportive, and socially fluent. Let's now explore conversational humility phrases, expressions used when downplaying praise. One natural response to compliments is, I appreciate that, or that's kind of you to say. For example, you did an amazing job. I appreciate that. Thank you. Another is, I couldn't have done it without the team. This shows gratitude and humility simultaneously. Practice receiving praise. Your leadership made the project successful. That's kind of you to say, but it was a team effort. This reflects professional conversational fluency. Now, let's move into phrases used when offering opinions carefully, because fluent speakers rarely sound absolute. They sound balanced. One useful phrase is, if you ask me, For example, if you ask me, consistency matters more than talent. Another is, personally speaking, I prefer working early in the day. These phrases frame opinions without sounding imposing. Let's practice conversational contrast. Is remote work effective? If you ask me, it depends on the individual. Notice the thoughtful neutrality. Daily life also involves moments where we need to soften criticism. One polite phrase is, you might want to reconsider. For example, you might want to reconsider that decision. Another is, have you thought about? This invites reflection instead of confrontation. Have you thought about approaching it differently? Now, imagine giving feedback. Your presentation was detailed, but you might want to reconsider the timing. Balanced, respectful, fluent. Let's explore conversational reassurance phrases, expressions that calm anxiety. One common one is, there's nothing to worry about. For example, the results will be fine. There's nothing to worry about. Another is, everything is under control, often used in stressful situations. Practice situational reassurance. Is the project behind schedule? No, everything is under control. This communicates calm leadership. Now, let's shift into anticipation phrases, expressions used when looking forward to events. One natural phrase is, I'm really looking forward to it. For example, our trip next week. I'm really looking forward to it. Another is, I can't wait. Casual, energetic, emotionally expressive. Let's expand excitement. The concert is tomorrow. I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it. Layering increases emotional vibrancy. Daily conversations also involve moments where we express regret, and here, nuanced phrases matter. One is, I wish I had. For example, I wish I had prepared more. Another is, if only I had known. If only I had known earlier, I would have acted differently. These phrases reflect reflective fluency. Practice introspection. I missed the opportunity. I wish I had taken it seriously. Emotional and conversational depth combine here. Now, let's explore conversational curiosity phrases because asking engaging questions sustains dialogue. One powerful phrase is, what made you decide that? For example, you changed careers. What made you decide that? Another is, how did you come up with that idea? These invite storytelling. Let's build conversational flow. You moved abroad. What made you decide that? Notice how the question encourages elaboration. We also frequently use phrases to express gradual realization. One such phrase is, it dawned on me that. For example, it dawned on me that I needed a change. Another is, I came to realize. I came to realize how important balance is. These sound reflective and articulate. Practice reflective storytelling. After years of stress, it dawned on me that health comes first. This phrasing elevates narrative maturity. As conversations progress, we often summarize experiences. One useful phrase is, all in all. For example, all in all, it was a rewarding experience. Another is, when all is said and done. Slightly more formal but powerful. When all is said and done, I'm proud of the outcome. Now, Let's practice closure fluency. The journey was difficult, but all in all, it was worth it. This provides conversational resolution. Take a moment now and mentally revisit the phrases from this practice session. I know how you feel. That must have been tough. Don't be too hard on yourself. That's kind of you to say. If you ask me, you might want to reconsider. Everything is under control. I'm really looking forward to it. I wish I had. It dawned on me that. All in all. Each phrase adds emotional intelligence, relational awareness, and conversational grace to your English. Because fluency isn't only linguistic, it's deeply human, built on empathy, reflection, curiosity, and connection. And as you internalize these expressions, you move closer to speaking English not just correctly, but meaningfully, authentically, and fluently in the moments that matter most. As your conversational fluency grows richer, we now step into a layer of English that reflects spontaneity, the kind of language people use when reacting in the moment, when conversations take unexpected turns, or when emotions surface without preparation. Because real-life dialogue is rarely scripted. It's dynamic, responsive, and often unpredictable. And the phrases you use in these moments determine how natural and confident you sound. Let's begin with a very expressive reaction phrase, one that native speakers use constantly when something unexpected happens. Well, that was unexpected. This phrase is useful when reacting calmly to surprise without sounding dramatic. For example, the meeting got canceled 5 minutes before it started. Well, that was unexpected. It communicates awareness and adaptability. You can expand it conversationally. Well, that was unexpected, but I guess it gives us some free time. Notice how adding perspective maintains conversational flow. Another spontaneous reaction phrase is, I didn't see that coming. For example, they announced the results early. I didn't see that coming. This sounds more conversational than simply saying, I was surprised. Practice situational fluency. He resigned suddenly. I didn't see that coming. Feel how naturally the phrase fits into daily storytelling. Now, let's explore phrases used when processing information in real time. One common expression is, give me a second to process that. For example, you're moving abroad next week. Give me a second to process that. This phrase communicates surprise while buying thinking time. Another is, that's a lot to take in, often used when news is overwhelming. You handled everything alone. That's a lot to take in. Let's build conversational depth. You managed the entire project solo. Wow, that's a lot to take in. Notice the emotional layering. Daily life also includes moments of sudden realization, and here phrases like, now that you mention it, become useful. For example, now that you mention it, I do remember seeing that email. Another realization phrase is, come to think of it. Come to think of it, we never followed up on that idea. These phrases signal mental recall. Practice conversational reflection. Come to think of it, I haven't spoken to him in months. This sounds natural and thoughtful. Now, let's move into phrases used when offering spontaneous suggestions, because conversations often involve quick problem solving. One natural phrase is, why don't we, for example, why don't we grab coffee and discuss it? Another is, how about we reschedule for tomorrow? Both phrases sound collaborative rather than directive. Let's expand it conversationally. Why don't we take a short break, then continue? This sounds considerate and solution-oriented. We also need phrases for agreeing spontaneously, especially in casual settings. One such phrase is, I'm in. For example, we're going hiking this weekend. I'm in. Short, energetic, socially engaged. Another is, count me in. Slightly more enthusiastic. You're organizing a game night. Count me in. Practice excitement. We're planning a road trip. Count me in. I've been needing a getaway. This kind of response builds conversational momentum. Now, let's explore phrases used when declining invitations politely, because social fluency includes graceful refusal. One common expression is, I wish I could, but, for example, I wish I could join you, but I already have plans. Another is, maybe another time. Softer, less direct. I can't make it tonight. Maybe another time. Practice polite refusal. We're meeting after work. I wish I could, but I need to finish something. Maybe another time. Balanced, respectful, fluent. Daily conversations also involve expressing mild annoyance without conflict. One natural phrase is, that's a bit much. For example, charge an extra fee for that service? That's a bit much. Another is, I'm not thrilled about that. A polite way to show dissatisfaction. Practice tonal control. The deadline got moved earlier? I'm not thrilled about that, but we'll manage. This maintains professionalism. Now, let's move into phrases used when shifting perspective mid-conversation. One powerful expression is, having said that, similar to contrast phrases. The work is challenging. Having said that, it's rewarding. Another is, at the same time. I enjoy traveling. At the same time, I miss home. These create balanced viewpoints. Practice layered reflection. The role is demanding. Having said that, it offers growth. We also frequently use phrases to express gradual improvement. One natural phrase is, I'm getting the hang of it. For example, I'm getting the hang of speaking English daily. Another is, it's starting to make sense. The lessons were confusing at first, but it's starting to make sense. These reflect learning progression. Practice self-reflection. Public speaking was scary, but I'm getting the hang of it. This communicates growth. Now, let's explore conversational reassurance directed at ourselves. One phrase is, I'll take it as it comes, meaning you'll handle situations step by step. Another is, I'll cross that bridge when I get there. For example, I'm not sure what will happen, but I'll cross that bridge when I get there. This signals calm acceptance of uncertainty. Daily life also includes expressing appreciation for small moments. One phrase is, I needed that. For example, that walk cleared my mind. I needed that. Another is, that made all the difference. Your advice made all the difference. These phrases highlight emotional impact. Practice emotional gratitude. Talking to you helped a lot. I needed that. Now, let's move into phrases used when summarizing ongoing effort. One natural expression is, I'm doing my best. For example, I'm doing my best to stay consistent. Another is, I'm working on it, often used to signal progress. I know my pronunciation needs improvement. I'm working on it. Let's build conversational reassurance. Are you improving your English? Yes, I'm working on it. I'm doing my best. This communicates commitment. Take a moment now and mentally revisit the phrases from this practice session. Well, that was unexpected. I didn't see that coming. That's a lot to take in. Come to think of it, why don't we? Count me in. I wish I could, but I'm not thrilled about that. I'm getting the hang of it. I'll cross that bridge when I get there. I needed that. I'm working on it. Each phrase equips you to respond naturally in unscripted, real-time, emotionally dynamic conversations where fluency is measured not by perfection, but by presence, responsiveness, and conversational ease. And as you continue practicing these expressions, imagining situations, replaying dialogues, and speaking them aloud, you build reflexive fluency, the ability to respond without translating, without freezing, and without losing conversational rhythm. As we move further into the rhythm of real-life English conversations, it becomes clear that fluency is deeply connected to how we manage ongoing relationships, not just momentary interactions. Because daily life is built on repeated contact, familiar faces, evolving dynamics, and shared experiences. And the phrases we use in these recurring exchanges shape how natural, warm, and confident our communication feels. Let's begin with a phrase often used when reconnecting with someone after some time. It's been a while. Simple but emotionally meaningful. For example, hey, it's been a while. How have you been? This phrase signals familiarity and interest without sounding overly formal. You can extend it conversationally. It's been a while. We should catch up sometime. Notice how the phrase invites reconnection. Another similar expression is long time no see, more casual, often used among friends. Long time no see. What have you been up to? Both phrases initiate reconnection smoothly. Now, let's explore a phrase used when acknowledging someone's effort or progress. I can see the improvement. For example, you've been practicing consistently. I can see the improvement. This phrase motivates and validates effort. You can deepen the encouragement. I can see the improvement. Keep it up. This layering builds emotional support. Daily conversations also involve appreciating consistency. And here, a phrase like, you've come a long way, becomes powerful. For example, your English is much more fluent now. You've come a long way. Practice supportive dialogue. I struggled a lot last year. You've come a long way. Your confidence shows. This type of phrasing strengthens interpersonal warmth. Now, let's move into phrases used when checking on someone's well-being. One natural expression is, how have you been holding up? Often used during stressful times. For example, I heard work has been intense. How have you been holding up? Another is, are you doing okay? Simple but deeply caring. Practice emotional outreach. You've had a lot on your plate. Are you doing okay? Notice the empathy embedded in phrasing. As relationships develop, conversations often involve shared memories, and here nostalgia phrases appear naturally. One such phrase is, remember when? For example, remember when we stayed up all night studying? Another is, That takes me back. Used when recalling past experiences. Hearing that song? That takes me back. Practice memory storytelling. Remember when we got lost on that trip? That takes me back. Nostalgia deepens conversational bonds. Now, let's explore phrases used when expressing mutual understanding. One powerful expression is, "We're on the same page." For example, "So we'll finalize the plan tomorrow?" Yes, we're on the same page. Another is, "That's exactly what I was thinking." This reinforces alignment. Practice agreement dialogue. We should simplify the strategy. That's exactly what I was thinking. We're on the same page. This sounds collaborative and fluent. Daily life also requires phrases for expressing gradual adaptation, especially in new environments. One useful phrase is, "I'm settling in." For example, "How's the new job?" "I'm settling in, still learning the ropes." Another is, "I'm finding my rhythm." Often used when adjusting. Practice adaptation fluency. "How's life in the new city?" "I'm settling in slowly, finding my rhythm." Now, let's move into phrases used when expressing appreciation for people's presence. One meaningful phrase is, "It's good to have you around." For example, "You bring positive energy." "It's good to have you around." Another is, "You make things easier." Used to acknowledge support. Practice relational gratitude. "Thanks for helping with everything." "It's good to have you around." This strengthens connection. We also need phrases for expressing emotional reassurance within relationships. One is, "I've got your back," meaning you support someone. For example, "Whatever happens, I've got your back." Another is, "You aren't alone in this," often used during hardship. Practice emotional support. "I'm nervous about the transition." "You aren't alone in this. I've got your back." These phrases communicate loyalty. Now, let's explore phrases used when discussing personal growth. One natural expression is, "I've learned a lot about myself." For example, "Traveling alone? I've learned a lot about myself." Another is, "It changed my perspective." That experience changed my perspective. These reflect introspection. Practice reflective dialogue. "The journey was challenging, but I've learned a lot about myself." Daily conversations also include expressing renewed motivation. One phrase is, "I feel recharged." For example, "After the break, I feel recharged." Another is, "I'm ready to dive back in," meaning ready to resume effort. Practice motivational reflection. "The vacation helped. I feel recharged, ready to dive back in." Now, let's move into phrases used when recognizing life balance. One powerful expression is, "It put things into perspective." For example, "The experience put things into perspective." Another is, "It reminded me what matters," used when priorities shift. Practice introspective fluency. "Spending time with family? It reminded me what matters." As conversations deepen, we also express acceptance of change. One phrase is, "Things have changed." For example, "Things have changed, but I've adapted." Another is, "Life moved on." Reflective, calm, mature. Practice emotional closure. "We don't talk anymore. Life moved on." Take a moment now and mentally revisit the relational phrases from this practice session. It's been a while. You've come a long way. How have you been holding up? Remember when? We're on the same page. I'm settling in. It's good to have you around. I've got your back. I've learned a lot about myself. I feel recharged. It put things into perspective. These expressions move your English beyond transactional communication into relational communication, where language builds trust, warmth, and emotional connection. And this is where advanced conversational fluency truly lives, not in perfect grammar, but in meaningful human exchange, expressed through phrases that carry empathy, memory, growth, and shared understanding. As we continue expanding your fluency across real-life communication, we now step into a conversational layer that appears constantly in professional environments, casual workplaces, study groups, collaborations, and productivity-focused discussions. Because a large portion of daily English conversations revolves around coordination, responsibility, deadlines, teamwork, and performance reflection, and the phrases used in these settings carry a slightly different tone, more structured, more purposeful, yet still conversationally natural. Let's begin with a phrase used when acknowledging workload pressure. I've got a lot on my plate. This expression communicates being busy without sounding stressed or negative. For example, can you take on another task? I'd love to help, but I've got a lot on my plate right now. It sounds professional, honest, and balanced. You can extend it conversationally. I've got a lot on my plate, but I'll try to make time. This communicates effort alongside limitation. Another common workplace phrase is, let's touch base. This means reconnecting briefly to review progress. For example, let's touch base tomorrow and see where we stand. It sounds collaborative and organized. Practice situational fluency. We've made progress, but let's touch base next week to finalize details. Now, let's explore phrases used when delegating or sharing responsibility. One natural expression is, I'll take care of it. For example, who will handle the presentation slides? I'll take care of it. This signals ownership. Another is, leave it with me. Slightly more reassuring. You focus on the report. Leave the logistics with me. Practice collaborative dialogue. We need someone to coordinate the event. I'll take care of it. Leave it with me. Daily professional conversations also involve progress updates, and certain phrases help communicate movement effectively. One useful phrase is, we're making good progress. For example, how's the project going? We're making good progress. Another is, we're on track, meaning deadlines are being met. Everything is running smoothly. We're on track. Practice performance reporting. Are we meeting the timeline? Yes, we're on track, making good progress. Now, let's move into phrases used when facing delays or obstacles. One common expression is, we've hit a bit of a snag. For example, the system crashed. We've hit a bit of a snag. It communicates difficulty without sounding dramatic. Another is, there's been a slight setback. Softer, more professional. Practice problem communication. Is everything going as planned? Not exactly. We've hit a bit of a snag, but we're resolving it. We also frequently use solution-oriented phrases, especially in teamwork discussions. One powerful expression is, let's find a way around it. For example, the budget is limited. Let's find a way around it. Another is, we'll work something out. This communicates optimism and adaptability. Practice collaborative resilience. The timeline is tight, but we'll work something out. Now, let's explore accountability phrases, expressions used when taking responsibility. One natural phrase is, "That's on me." For example, "The oversight happened because of me. That's on me." It sounds honest and mature. Another is, "I'll make sure it doesn't happen again." This reinforces accountability. Practice professional ownership. "The delay was due to my error. That's on me. I'll make sure it doesn't happen again." Daily work conversations also involve recognition of team effort, and here, phrases of acknowledgement matter. One such phrase is, "Great job on that." For example, "You handled the presentation well. Great job on that." Another is, "Kudos to the team," used to celebrate collective effort. Practice appreciation fluency. "The launch was successful. Kudos to the team." Now, let's move into phrases used when brainstorming ideas. One natural expression is, "Let's throw some ideas around." For example, "We need a new marketing approach. Let's throw some ideas around." Another is, "Let's think outside the box," meaning explore unconventional solutions. Practice creative collaboration. "The usual strategy isn't working. Let's think outside the box." We also frequently use phrases when seeking input. One common one is, "What are your thoughts?" For example, "We've drafted the proposal. What are your thoughts?" Another is, "I'd love your input." This sounds inclusive and respectful. Practice discussion facilitation. "We're considering a new plan. I'd love your input." Now, let's explore phrases used when aligning decisions. One powerful expression is, "Let's move forward with this." For example, "We've reviewed all options. Let's move forward with this." Another is, "We're good to go," meaning everything is ready. Practice execution fluency. "The preparations are complete. We're good to go." Daily professional dialogue also includes time management phrases. One natural expression is, "Let's circle back later," meaning revisit the topic. Another is, "We'll pick this up tomorrow." Both help manage conversation flow. Practice scheduling fluency. "We're short on time. Let's circle back later." Now, let's explore phrases used when expressing learning from work experiences. One such phrase is, "It was a learning curve." For example, "The new software was challenging. It was a learning curve." Another is, "It sharpened my skills." Handling that crisis sharpened my skills. Practice growth reflection. "Managing the project alone? It sharpened my skills." Take a moment now and mentally review the professional conversational phrases from this practice session. "I've got a lot on my plate. Let's touch base. I'll take care of it. We're on track. We've hit a bit of a snag. We'll work something out. That's on me. Kudos to the team. Let's think outside the box. What are your thoughts? We're good to go. It was a learning curve." These phrases allow you to function confidently in collaborative environments, express responsibility, manage expectations, and contribute ideas, all while sounding natural, composed, and professionally fluent. And as you integrate these expressions into your daily English, you'll notice your confidence expanding beyond casual conversation into workplace dialogue, academic discussions, and leadership communication, where clarity, diplomacy, and fluency intersect. As we continue strengthening your command over daily life English, we now move into a conversational space that reflects decision-making, personal direction, life choices, and everyday problem navigation. Because much of adult conversation revolves around choices we make, opportunities we consider, risks we weigh, and paths we choose. And fluent speakers rely on certain phrases to express these reflections naturally, thoughtfully, and confidently. Let's begin with a phrase often used when discussing life direction. I'm trying to figure things out. This expression communicates uncertainty without sounding lost or negative. For example, what are your plans after graduation? I'm trying to figure things out, exploring my options. It sounds reflective rather than confused. You can expand it conversationally. I'm trying to figure things out, taking it one step at a time. Notice how this adds calmness and maturity to the response. Another common decision-related phrase is, I'm leaning toward. For example, I'm leaning toward accepting the offer. It communicates preference without final commitment. Practice reflective dialogue. Have you decided yet? Not completely, but I'm leaning toward moving abroad. This sounds thoughtful and measured. Now, let's explore phrases used when discussing risk and courage. One powerful expression is, I decided to take the leap. For example, I was nervous, but I decided to take the leap and start my business. This phrase conveys bravery and initiative. Another is, I stepped out of my comfort zone. For instance, public speaking terrified me, but I stepped out of my comfort zone. Practice motivational storytelling. I knew it would be challenging, but I took the leap, stepped out of my comfort zone. This layering adds emotional depth. Daily conversations also involve reflecting on missed opportunities, and here, nuanced phrasing matters. One expression is, I let that chance slip by. For example, I let that chance slip by, and I regret it. Another is, I hesitated too long, often used in self-reflection. Practice introspective fluency. The opportunity was there, but I hesitated too long. Now, let's move into phrases used when expressing determination. One natural expression is, I'm committed to making it work. For example, the transition is tough, but I'm committed to making it work. Another is, I'm fully invested in this, meaning emotionally and practically dedicated. Practice resilience dialogue. Do you think the project will succeed? Yes, I'm fully invested, committed to making it work. We also frequently use phrases when discussing balance in life decisions. One useful expression is, I'm trying to find the right balance. For example, work has been intense. I'm trying to find the right balance. Another is, I don't want to burn out, reflecting self-awareness. Practice lifestyle reflection. I'm working hard, but I'm trying to find the right balance. I don't want to burn out. Now, let's explore phrases used when discussing long-term vision. One powerful expression is, I see myself. For example, I see myself leading a team someday. Another is, that's the direction I want to grow in. Creative strategy. That's the direction I want to grow in. Practice future fluency. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? I see myself building something meaningful. Daily conversations also involve reassessing priorities. One phrase is, my priorities have shifted. For example, my priorities have shifted. I value time more now. Another is, I'm focusing on what truly matters. Practice reflective maturity. I used to chase titles. Now my priorities have shifted. Now let's move into phrases used when embracing change. One natural expression is, I'm embracing the change. For example, the move was sudden, but I'm embracing the change. Another is, I'm learning to adapt. The environment is different, but I'm learning to adapt. Practice adaptive fluency. Is the transition difficult? Yes, but I'm embracing the change. We also frequently use phrases when expressing patience with progress. One is, it takes time, simple yet profound. For example, fluency doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. Another is, I'm trusting the process, meaning belief in gradual growth. Practice motivational reflection. Improvement feels slow, but I'm trusting the process. Now, let's explore phrases used when expressing renewed clarity. One expression is, I have a clearer picture now. For example, after months of confusion, I have a clearer picture now. Another is, things are starting to fall into place, used when life begins aligning. Practice clarity fluency. Was the transition worth it? Yes, things are starting to fall into place. Daily life also includes acknowledging uncertainty about the future. One phrase is, only time will tell. For example, will the plan succeed? Only time will tell. Another is, we'll see how it unfolds. Both signal patience with outcomes. Practice reflective acceptance. I've done my part, now only time will tell. Now, let's move into phrases used when expressing closure after decisions. One natural expression is, I made peace with it. For example, the outcome wasn't ideal, but I made peace with it. Another is, I'm at peace with my decision, reflecting emotional resolution. Practice emotional closure. It was difficult, but I'm at peace with my decision. Take a moment now and mentally revisit the phrases from this practice session. I'm trying to figure things out. I'm leaning toward. I took the leap. I stepped out of my comfort zone. I'm committed to making it work. I'm trying to find the right balance. I see myself. My priorities have shifted. I'm embracing the change. I'm trusting the process. Only time will tell. I made peace with it. These expressions empower you to speak about life direction, decisions, growth, uncertainty, and transformation, all with conversational fluency that feels reflective, mature, and authentic. Because advanced English isn't only about describing the world around you, it's about describing the journey within you, your choices, your fears, your courage, and your evolving perspective, expressed through phrases that make your voice sound grounded, confident, and deeply human. As we continue moving deeper into the rhythm of fluent daily communication, we now arrive at a conversational layer that reflects emotional honesty, personal sharing, and meaningful human dialogue. Because beyond greetings, plans, and workplace discussions, there are moments when conversations become quieter, more reflective, more personal, and the phrases we use in these moments shape how authentically we connect with others. Let's begin with a phrase often used when opening up emotionally. I've been doing a lot of thinking lately. This expression signals introspection and prepares the listener for deeper conversation. For example, I've been doing a lot of thinking lately about what I really want from life. Notice how the phrase creates emotional space. You can extend it naturally. I've been doing a lot of thinking lately, trying to understand my priorities. This layering adds conversational depth. Another personal reflection phrase is, I've come to realize. For example, I've come to realize how important peace of mind is. This signals emotional growth. Practice introspective sharing. I've come to realize that happiness comes from balance. The phrase sounds grounded and fluent. Now, let's explore phrases used when expressing vulnerability. One natural expression is, I wasn't sure how to handle it. For example, the situation was overwhelming. I wasn't sure how to handle it. This communicates honesty without weakness. Another is, I felt completely out of my depth, meaning you felt unprepared. Practice emotional storytelling. When I started the job, I felt completely out of my depth, but I learned quickly. This shows growth through vulnerability. Daily conversations also include moments where we express gratitude for personal growth. One phrase is, I'm proud of how far I've come. For example, it wasn't easy, but I'm proud of how far I've come. Another is, I didn't give up on myself. Reflecting resilience. Practice motivational reflection. There were setbacks, but I didn't give up on myself. Now, let's move into phrases used when expressing emotional support to others. One powerful expression is, I believe in you. For example, you're capable. I believe in you. Another is, you're stronger than you think, often used to uplift someone. Practice supportive dialogue. I'm scared I'll fail. You're stronger than you think. I believe in you. This kind of phrasing builds deep emotional connection. We also frequently use phrases when expressing appreciation for emotional presence. One is, thank you for being there for me. For example, during that time, thank you for being there for me. Another is, it meant the world to me. Expressing profound gratitude. Practice emotional gratitude. Your support meant the world to me. Thank you for being there. Now, let's explore phrases used when discussing emotional healing. One natural expression is, I'm learning to let go. For example, it wasn't easy, but I'm learning to let go. Another is, I'm moving forward, reflecting progress. Practice reflective resilience. The past hurt, but I'm moving forward. Learning to let go. Daily life also involves moments of self-acceptance, and here certain phrases express inner peace. One such expression is, I'm becoming more comfortable with who I am. For example, over time, I'm becoming more comfortable with who I am. Another is, I've learned to accept myself, reflecting personal growth. Practice identity fluency. I used to doubt myself, but I've learned to accept myself. Now, let's move into phrases used when expressing hope for the future. One powerful expression is, I'm hopeful about what's ahead. For example, there's uncertainty, but I'm hopeful about what's ahead. Another is, I believe better days are coming. Reflecting optimism. Practice future positivity. The journey is tough, but I believe better days are coming. We also frequently use phrases when reflecting on life lessons. One is, life has taught me. For example, life has taught me patience. Another is, every experience shaped me. Practice reflective wisdom. The hardships were real, but every experience shaped me. Now, let's explore phrases used when expressing emotional closure. One expression is, I've made my peace with the past. For example, I've made my peace with the past, and I'm ready for the future. Another is, I've turned the page, meaning starting fresh. Practice renewal fluency. That chapter ended. I've turned the page. As conversations deepen, we also express appreciation for the present moment. One phrase is, I'm grateful for where I am now. For example, the journey was long, but I'm grateful for where I am now. Another is, I wouldn't trade this growth for anything, reflecting deep gratitude. Take a moment now and mentally revisit the emotionally rich phrases from this practice session. I've been doing a lot of thinking lately. I've come to realize I felt out of my depth. I'm proud of how far I've come. I believe in you. Thank you for being there for me. I'm learning to let go. I've learned to accept myself. I'm hopeful about what's ahead. Life has taught me. I've turned the page. I'm grateful for where I am now. These phrases allow you to communicate not just daily actions, but inner transformation, emotional journeys, and human resilience, expressed through English that feels sincere, reflective, and profoundly fluent. Because true conversational mastery isn't measured by how many words you know, but by how authentically you can express thoughts, feelings, growth, and gratitude in the language you speak. As we arrive in this final stretch of your conversational fluency journey, it becomes important to consolidate everything you've been absorbing, not by memorizing phrases mechanically, but by understanding how they live, breathe, and function inside real human interaction. Because fluency is never built from isolated expressions, it's built from connected thought, emotional timing, situational awareness, and the confidence to speak even when your sentences aren't perfect. Take a moment to imagine your daily routine again, from the moment your day begins. You move through countless conversational doors, greeting someone, reacting to news, sharing experiences, making plans, expressing opinions, offering support, handling challenges, reflecting on growth, and closing conversations with emotional understanding. Every situation we explored through this lesson represents one of those doors, and every phrase you've practiced is a key that helps you open them naturally. Let's bring that awareness into a flowing conversational scenario. Imagine you meet a colleague you haven't seen in weeks. You begin with warmth. Hey, it's been a while. How have you been holding up? They share that work has been intense. You respond empathetically. That must have been tough. I know how you feel. The conversation shifts toward progress. But I can see the improvement in how you're managing things. You've come a long way. Notice how greeting, empathy, and encouragement connect seamlessly. Now the conversation evolves. They tell you about a new opportunity. You react with enthusiasm. That's awesome. I'm really happy for you. They admit they're nervous. You reassure them. You've got this. I believe in you. Here, emotional reaction, encouragement, and relational fluency merge naturally. Let's continue the conversational flow. They ask about your own journey. You reflect honestly. To be honest, I've been doing a lot of thinking lately, trying to figure things out. You expand. I'm leaning toward making a change, stepping out of my comfort zone. Notice how introspection and decision-making phrases integrate smoothly. As the discussion deepens, you summarize your mindset. At the end of the day, I'm trying to find the right balance, trusting the process. This single moment reflects philosophical fluency, emotional maturity, and conversational calmness. Now imagine the conversation turning towards shared memories. You smile. Remember when we used to stress over every small thing? That takes me back. Nostalgia softens the interaction, building relational warmth. The colleague then shares uncertainty about the future. You respond with grounded reassurance. Only time will tell, but I'm sure things will fall into place. Notice the emotional steadiness embedded in phrasing. As the exchange approaches closure, appreciation surfaces. By the way, thank you for being there for me during that difficult phase. It meant the world to me. This expression transforms the conversation from casual to meaningful. And in that single conversational arc, you've used greeting phrases, empathy phrases, encouragement phrases, reflective phrases, planning phrases, reassurance phrases, nostalgia phrases, and gratitude phrases. Not in isolation, but in organic conversational flow, exactly how fluent speakers communicate in real life. This is the essence of advanced English conversation. Not complexity, but connection. Not speed, but authenticity. Not perfection, but presence. Now pause for a deeper practice moment. Imagine your own real-life scenarios, speaking to a friend, a colleague, a family member, or even yourself. Try mentally forming responses using the phrases you've learned. If someone asks about your progress, you might say, "I'm getting the hang of it, still working on it, but I've come a long way." If discussing challenges, you might reflect, "It hasn't been easy, but I'm committed to making it work." If encouraging someone else, you might say, "Don't be too hard on yourself. You did your best." If talking about change, you might express, "I'm embracing the change, learning to adapt." If reflecting on growth, you might conclude, "Life has taught me patience, and I'm grateful for where I am now." Each of these imagined responses strengthens neural familiarity, preparing your mind to retrieve phrases naturally when real conversations unfold. Because fluency is built in layers, exposure, repetition, imagination, and usage, the more you mentally rehearse conversational situations, the more automatic your responses become. Until one day, you realize you're no longer translating, you're simply speaking. And that transformation doesn't come from memorizing thousands of random words. It comes from mastering functional conversational phrases. The very phrases you've been absorbing throughout this journey. Phrases for reacting, connecting, reflecting, encouraging, deciding, adapting, and growing. So, as you continue practicing beyond this lesson, keep integrating these expressions into your daily thought process. Speak them softly to yourself. Use them in real conversations. Repeat them when journaling or imagine dialogues before sleeping. Every repetition strengthens fluency pathways in your mind. And gradually, almost quietly, you'll notice something powerful happening. Your hesitation shrinking, your confidence expanding, your emotional expression deepening, and your conversational rhythm becoming smoother, more natural, more human. Because in the end, fluency isn't just about speaking English. It's about expressing your experiences, your reflections, your empathy, your decisions, and your growth in a language that once felt foreign, but now feels like an extension of your own voice. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today, practicing, reflecting, and growing your English fluency step by step. I truly hope this session helped you feel more confident using natural daily life phrases in your conversations. Because the more you hear them, repeat them, and imagine using them in real situations, the more naturally they become part of your spoken English. Remember, fluency isn't built in a single day. It grows through consistency, patience, and daily exposure. So keep practicing, keep listening, and keep speaking whenever you get the chance, even if it's just with yourself, because every small effort moves you forward. If you found this lesson helpful, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so you never miss our daily English learning videos designed to support your fluency journey. Keep practicing, keep believing in your progress, and I'll see you in the next lesson.